Castro's death comes on the heels of the first commercial flight to Cuba's capital.
And this morning we have live team coverage. Local 10 News reporter Ben Kennedy is live at Miami International Airport, where the first flight will take off this morning.
And we'll connect with Ben in just a moment. We also have Local 10 News reporter Laren Livingston in Havana, Little Havana. That is where the Cuban community has been getting together to celebrate Castro's death.
But we begin with Local 10 News reporter Hatzel Vela, and the first South Florida reporter to arrive actually in Havana to cover the death of Fidel Castro. Hatzel, good morning to you. Tell us a little bit about the tone and the mood there in the area. You've been there for several hours now.
Yeah, I can tell you it's definitely a somber mood, and in terms of visuals, what we're looking at here, this is going to be the day, starting at 9 a.m., as you mentioned, at the Plaza de la Revolucion. That is where Cubans will be able to pay their last respects to their fallen leader, the Plaza de la Revolucion. But also we have to mention that it is at the Jose Marti Memorial, where people will be able to attend and pass by, walk by, and again, pay homage to the fallen leader, Fidel Castro. Cheyenne, Eric, obviously it's going to be a long day, as you mentioned, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then tomorrow an abbreviated version of that, and then there will be that mass gathering at the plaza again.
Hatzel, what sort of coverage has it been there? We know state-run media has been showing continuous positive coverage of Fidel Castro's life. How is that news being transported to the people of Cuba?
Well, that is what they see, right? So you think about state-run media, it is on 24 hours a day. Last night when I got home really late, all we saw were speeches that the former president here gave throughout his career at different places, at different gatherings. And if it's not speeches, it's typically a news team telling people what is happening. Or you see documentaries documenting his life, and you hear from people talking about different phases of his life or his career as the leader here on the island. So it's a wide variety of things. But let's talk about the international media here, because what we've seen is obviously a huge amount of output when it comes to the international media that are first or starting to gather here. We're going to see that at the Plaza de la Revolucion, because that is going to be the key place today when it comes to the events here in Cuba.
Well, Hatzel, you know, typically the ladies in white on Sundays, that's when they're set to do their protests. They did not yesterday. Why is that?
Well, we did talk to Berta Soler, the leader of the Ladies in White. We have been covering her since we first arrived. It's good to sort of hear from that perspective. And what she told me was basically it was done out of respect. She wanted a tranquil, I guess a tranquil part of this memorial, of this events here in Cuba. And she said that she also wanted to be able to show the government that they were not out to make trouble, but to mourn with the rest of the people here in Cuba.
Is that the same sentiment for going forward for next Sunday? Because that's when Fidel Castro will actually be laid to rest. Will they do the same, or do they plan to continue the protests then?
Yeah, certainly good question. And it is a question that we posed to her. We asked her just that. We also asked her what her thoughts were on the death. And she says, you never want to be happy when somebody passes away, but certainly a relief, she says, that what she called a dictator is now gone. As for next Sunday, when he is going to be interred, she says, at this point, they had not finished their plans, finalized their plans when it comes to their typical procession that they hold, their demonstrations that they hold in the Miramar section of Havana.
A live coverage this morning from Havana as that nation continues to mourn the death of Fidel Castro. Hatzel Vela, thank you, Hatzel. We'll see you at 6:30.